Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking the best power forwards in NBA 2K22 MyTEAM on a tier list. Now, before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 4,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, often multiple videos a day, and I would really appreciate your support if you haven't already, if you do subscribe. Without further ado, let's hop right into it, and let's start off with Giannis Antetokounmpo. First of all, as y'all can see, ton of power forwards on this list, so I'm going to try to go relatively quickly with each of these cards because, as I said, there's a ton of cards on the list in general. But Giannis is still a really solid card. I'm not sure if B or A is a more fair spot to put him. The reason I'm considering B is because I would say he's just a tiny bit outdated in that he only has 6 Hoffs, only 1 defensive Hoff, which is Pogo Stick, but he has every Hoff gold defensive badge, solid playmaking badges for a power forward, can get any shooting badge as well, which is nice, but only a 69 shot 3 with a really good coach, like one of the new Opal coaches that boosts 3-point shot. That's going to be up much higher, and you can also put a shoe on it, so you can get that into the 80s, but not the greatest shooter in the world. Statistically, he's really solid, but he's nothing like that jumps off the page at you at this point in the year. He's a great card, though. I definitely do think Giannis is still really solid. Probably definitely an A tier guy. Actually, I am going to definitely move him up to the A tier, especially with the new coach boosts. Jumper is really nice too, which I'm a big fan of. I think this Giannis is really good. I don't think he jumps off the page at you as like one of the best cards in the game anymore, but Giannis cards are always great in 2K, and this Pink Diamond Giannis had his time and is still a super solid option. Dan Issel, second power forward of the video, also I think an A tier type of guy. Decent speed at 85. He's a good shooter, solid dunker, decent all-around defender. Badge wise, has really good shooting badges. Hoff, brick wall, and 10 post. Rebound chaser and worm as well. Good finishing badges. Can get quick first step. Already has all the shooting badges you could ask for. Can get ankle braces, ball stripper, menace as well defensively if you want to add those to him. Jumper is really good. I like Kevin Love's jumper even on normal. Fundamental dribble style is solid as well. Overall, really solid card. Maybe not the best power forward in the game, similar to Giannis, but definitely another solid option. I think Jamison deserves to be in the B tier. Jamison doesn't do anything terrible, but I don't think he does anything great either. Only 6'8", so not the greatest size at power forward, but again, not bad. I mean, decent defense, decent speed, good shooter. Shooting badges are solid, not great. Playmaking badges are, again, solid. Defensive badges, he's got Hoff box, Pogo Stick, rebound chaser, but none of the elite perimeter defensive badges. Needs a lot of defensive badges added to him as well, but you can add them to if you want to. Jumper is fine. It's nothing crazy. Brook Lopez based on normal is good. I think it's solid. I don't think it's great. His movement isn't like bad at all, but I mean, it's not great. He's got the Kobe size up, which is nice. Base dribble style sucks. He's very mediocre. B tier seems fair because he's not great, but he's not terrible either. Jerome Kersey is a card I honestly don't know much about. So I got to look at him before I make a complete assessment. 93 speed and excel is super nice. He's a decent shooter, good dunker, good defender as well. Hoff clamps is nice, bunch of finishing badges. Can get limitless and sniper added. Needs pick dodge, rebound chaser, rim protector as well. I mean, bullet passer. He needs a lot of badges added to him, and he is only a diamond. Jumper is mediocre. Fundamental dribble style is good. 6'7" is kind of small. He's not great. He's okay. His stats are better than the badges and animations. I don't think he's bad, but I don't think he's great either. C tier is probably, in all honesty, a fair spot to put him. I think Rodman goes in a B tier. I'm not a big fan of Rodman as a card, generally speaking, but I mean, the problem with Rodman is not the stats, because the stats besides the shooting are really good. The shooting isn't bad either. He can get any badge because he is an NBA 75 card, an elite defender. He is only 6'7" though. Jumper is really mediocre. I'm not a fan of set shot 17 at all, especially on normal. Fundamental dribble style is good. He's nice and fast, but the jumper really does hold him back a lot. I think B tier because of how elite he is defensively, but he's not a top power forward, like truly in the game, in my personal opinion right now. I think Jared Allen is probably A tier. The good thing about Jared Allen at the power forward position is that he's really tall. The bad part is that like he's a little slow at only 83 speed. He needs a ton of badges added to him as well, like limitless, like sniper, like bailout, glue hands, I don't know, ball stripper, pick dodger. He needs a lot of badges added to him. You're not going to be able to add all of them to him, but he is really big, which is nice. The jumper is solid. Fundamental dribble style also solid. He's a good card. I wish he had a little bit more badge slots or came with a little bit more like in terms of base badges, but overall, he's a good card. Better at center than at power forward, but he is pretty darn good at power forward as well, and I think he does deserve to be in the A tier. Dwight Howard, I do believe, is S tier at the power forward position. He is so good in my team. The jumper may not be the greatest in the world, but it's not bad, and he is an incredible all-around defender. Really good Hoff quick first step as well. Can shoot the ball at a solid level, especially with Hoff limitless. Or, I'm sorry, just any limitless added, any sniper, maybe a dead eye as well. Already has gold catch and shoot. Overall, one of the best defensive cards in the game as well. Has good size at 6'11". Dwight Howard release on quick is much better than it on normal. That quick timing does help the jumper a lot, and with a shoe, good coach, all those things, he becomes a very, very good shooter. Fundamental dribble style as well with hop quick first step. I think he's definitely an S tier power forward. Really, really solid option. Obi Toppin is another solid power forward. The biggest flaw with Obi, in all honesty, is the fact that he has the big dribble style, which just makes his movement absolutely atrocious. Jump shot 75, even on normal, is still solid. He's a good shooter, good athlete, good defender. He's a good card. He's not a great card. I don't feel like not jump off the page at you great, but he is relatively cheap. He's a good shooter. He would be a good playmaker if his dribble style wasn't awful, and he's an acceptable defender as well. Has acceptable size also at 6'9". I think B tier is a fair tier for a guy like this. He's not great, but he's definitely not bad either. Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is the really good Giannis. This Opal Giannis is, in my opinion, the best power forward in the game if you get him badged properly. I started him at my power forward position in 250. 6'11" with 7'4" wingspan. 15 hops, only one hotspot, but he has a bunch of great finishing badges, playmaking, and defensive badges. Every defensive badge on at least gold. Really solid defensive stats. Can't get limitless or sniper. Doesn't really matter though. 76 shot 3 with his release being really, really good, and a shoe boost and a coach boost. He becomes a knockdown shooter. 94 speed excel is also phenomenal. His jumper is amazing. Movement isn't great, but he's one of the best defensive cards in my team with his animations. Can guard 1 through 5 and also shoots the ball at a high level while being one of the best transition dunkers in the game. Really, really good card. Definitely an S tier card to me. One thing I'm noticing is I do think Paul Millsap is A tier, and I'll get to him in a second, but there's a lot of cards in this list that are really solid cards. So again, I think similarly to my small forward position, this is going to be a bit of a top heavy tier list. We will get to some cards that I think are lower down on the list, and I am going to have to be kind of picky with how I rank these cards. But that being said, keep that in mind that there are a lot of really good power forwards, so this is going to be a bit of a top heavy list. That being said, Paul Millsap, who is the domination award from this season, is only 6'8", but has good speed, really good defense, great defensive badges as well. Solid shooter, good shooting stats. Jump shot is solid, 34 on quick is fine. Fundamental dribble style is really good. I wish he had maybe Hall of Fame quick first step, half limitless, half sniper, things like that. You do need to add limitless to him, ball stripper as well, but overall he's pretty darn complete. If he was a little taller, maybe would be a borderline S tier guy. I think he's probably better at small forward, but even as power forward, I do think he 100% deserves to be in the A tier as a really, really good and all around well-rounded card. I'm going to put Tim Duncan in D tier because I think this card is pretty outdated. I don't like his jumper, and those are two big things on a card. He can shoot when he's open, and he can get any badge, which is nice. He's a good defender, but not the greatest perimeter defender. Defensive badges are really good, and that's the best part about this card, but I really hate his jumper and the fact that he's not super fast. The fact that he's not an elite shooter, especially with the jumper that he has. He has big dribble style, so his movement is terrible. He's a great interior defender and rebounder, but at the power forward, I need more athleticism and shooting, and Duncan just doesn't provide that. So for me, I think D tier is a great spot to put him. Larry Nance, I even think you could make the argument that he is an S tier. I'm looking at these guys who are on this list. I'm trying to decide if he is an S tier guy. And to me personally, he's not. But I do think Larry Nance is a really, really good card. 100% an A tier guy. One of the few Evo cards in the game that can actually get badges as well, which is super nice. So you can add limitless, sniper, catch and shoot, bailout, things like that to really make him a lot more complete. He's an elite defender. He's 6'10", has really good shooting as well with only an 80 shot 3. But once you get shooting badges on him, with him having basically Kareem's release, it's definitely a solid release. Fundamental dribble style is good as well. Kobe size up, elite slasher, good speed. Overall, this is a great card, one of the best on-ball and off-ball defenders in the game as well. Has the size and athleticism to play at the power forward position. He's a great all-around card. I'm a big fan of Larry Nance, and I think he 100% is one of the best cards in A tier. Andre Kirilenko. Yet another guy who I'm like, I'm actually going to move Dan Issel down because I think he's not quite as athletic as I'd like. So I'm going to move Dan Issel down and put AK in the A tier as well. AK I actually think is better at small forward, but even at power forward, he's really good. Another guy who has solid size at 6'9", is an absolutely incredible defender, has a good jumper, can play make a tiny bit. One of the best defensive cards in the game though, and he can shoot at a high level. Jump shot 98, even on normal. Base 98 is a great release. Movement is kind of very mediocre, but he's an elite 3-and-D guy, can be your pick and pop guy as well, defend at a high level even against bigger power forwards. AK is an A tier guy in my opinion. Bob Pettit. I don't know a lot about this card, similar to like what I said about Jerome Kersey earlier. Only 79 speed excel, really mediocre defender, needs a ton of badges. Yeah, this card is mediocre. Set shot 14 is fine, even on normal. Fundamental dribble style is good as well, but he's really slow, really mediocre defender, and that's important for me at the power forward positions to be more athletic than this. And because he is so limited and also needs a ton of badges, I don't think I can put him any higher than the C tier. Amari Stoudemire is another guy who's going to join him in the C tier. Another really mediocre card in my personal opinion. 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan, which is fine. He's got okay speed, okay shooting, really mediocre-ish defense. Needs a bunch of badges again, including Limitless, Sniper, Unpluckable, Pick Dodger, Pickpocket, Ankle Braces, Ball Stripper, Hustler. A lot of badges that are needed on this card. The jumper is really mediocre, which again is very important, and the big dribble style is not a type of dribble style I like. He's better than a guy like Tim Duncan, but not a card I'm super high on at this point at the power forward position. Bailey Howell I'm also putting in C tier. I think he probably is the best card that I've put in C tier so far, or at least arguably him and Jerome Kersey. But here's the thing about Bailey Howell. 1, only 6'7". 2, needs a bunch of badges. Can't get Limitless, needs Sniper, needs Quick First Step, needs Handles for Days, needs Pick Dodger, Ball Stripper. Mediocre, not great, but not terrible defender. Defensive badges are good, which is nice, but Treyberg release, awesome. Shifty dribble style, awesome. The problem with him is undersized, and that is a problem even with great rebounding ability. He needs a lot of badges, and I just think size is super important at that power forward position as well. He's not one of the most complete cards in the game. I got to be picky. I think he's a C tier guy. Billy Cunningham, I'm going to put Billy Cunningham in D tier because of how dang small he is and the fact that his movement isn't great. 6'6" with a small player build is not great. 91 speed, needs a bunch of badges. Decent shooter, good dunker, and a decent defender, but again, really undersized. Jumper is fine. Blake Griffin release, I mean, it's not bad, but it's not great. Especially on normal movement, is also eh. And the problem, again, 6'6" is really small at the power forward position, especially with a small player build. That's a big flaw for a guy like Billy Cunningham. So unfortunately, I'm going to put him in the D tier for now. There is a chance he got get moved up to C tier, but honestly, I kind of doubt it. Not super high on that card. Josh Smith, I do think is actually a really solid budget power forward. He's got great defensive animations, decent size at 6'9", good speed as well, solid shooter, really good dunker and defender. Defensive badges are good and pretty complete besides Brick Wall. Only badge he doesn't get is Limitless Spot Up, which hurts a bit, but I do like his jumper. Brook Lopez base with a good upper. I think it's solid. Similarly to a guy like Anton Jamison, not a bad jumper, not bad movement either. Honestly, I think he's a better defensive Anton Jamison who might not do quite as much on offense, but also is a better slasher. And I think because I think he's a similar level to Anton Jamison, he is a B tier guy. KG is another guy that I am going to put in the S tier. He played in my 250K squad as my backup power forward, or one of my 2 backup power forwards. 6'11" with a 7'2" wingspan is really good size. He's got 17 hops and really good speed, just great stats all the way around. Elite, incredible defensive badges, also Hoff Quick First Step and Catch and Shoot. Can get Limitless Spot Up, but doesn't need very many badges besides that, which is super, super nice as well. He's a phenomenal defender, phenomenal rebounder. His jumper on quick is much better and much less baited. Fundamental dribble style is great. He's got the Kobe size up. This is one of the best power forwards in the game. I think some people would argue he might be the best power forward in the game, at least on current gen. So definitely an S tier guy for me personally. Jaren Jackson Jr. is yet another one of those guys. I actually think you can kind of compare him to KG because I think he plays relatively similarly to KG. Not as fast, but he's a really solid defender, similar to KG. Has a bunch of great defensive badges, really nice shooter. Playmaking wise, only needs like Quick First Step added to him, which is nice as well. Jumper is smooth and easy to green, pretty quick. Big dribble style does suck, but I do think he gives you enough in terms of his defense, his athleticism, and his shooting that he is a good enough card to be in the A tier. A really great budget power forward option for you. Precious Achiuwa is another card I don't know a ton about. I know he came out in the All-Star Moments packs a couple weeks ago, but 6'8", I guess not bad with 7'2" wingspan. Not great though. Half Quick First Step, really good defensive stats. He can shoot the ball a bit, needs Limitless, needs Sniper. That's about it though in terms of badges, which is nice. Maybe Drop Stepper, Dream Shake, a couple of interior badges as well. Jump Shot 100, I have no idea how this jump shot is, so I can't really say. And then Big Dribble Style as well is good, or not good, it's terrible, but statistically and badge wise and stuff like that, he looks like a B tier guy, so I'm going to trust that the jumper's not god awful, and I'm going to leave him in the B tier for now. Xavier McDaniel is a card who came out in what, season 4 is the triple threat offline vault card, I think. 6'9" with 7' wingspan. Honestly, I think he's kind of just a worse Josh Smith. Really okay defender, not bad. Has a bunch of good defensive badges. Can shoot a bit. Good athleticism as well, great slasher. He's honestly very similar to Josh Smith, just jump shot 40 on normal isn't great, base dribble style isn't good, so that does hurt him a bit that I don't like his jump shot that much. For that reason, I do think he is. Honestly, since Josh Smith's in B tier, I'm going to put him in C tier. He might be the top C tier, but still a C tier guy for me. Draymond Green, I do think he's a good enough and versatile enough player that he can still be in the C tier, but I definitely would not put him higher than that, especially at only 6'7". 86 speed and excel, shooting is okay. He's an acceptable dunker, I guess. Defense is really nice, which is good. A lot of these cards are really good defenders though. Look, can get Limitless and Sniper, can be I guess a tiny bit of a playmaker with slasher dribble style. Jump shot is fine, not super fast, not super bad though. Another guy who's just kind of mediocre, and I think C tier is where I'm really putting most of those mediocre guys. I'm looking at this list, to be completely honest, there's only a couple guys that I think are probably like F tier cards. It is very hard to find like really bad cards at this point in the year to put in those really low tiers. So I'm gonna have to get pickier and pickier as we move on, but still have a lot of power forwards to go, so I better keep moving. Cat, I do think is A tier despite myself not loving his release. Because he does have good size, really good defensive and shooting badges, decent defensive stats, doesn't need very many badges added to him. Really good shooter as well. His release, I'm not a fan of. Movement, I'm also not a fan of, but the release isn't completely awful, and he is already great with his shooting badges and his defensive badge, which is super nice, and he has a really good size at 6'11" as well. So I think that's enough to put him in the A tier, despite the fact I'm not the biggest fan of the card. Bull is another guy who's A tier for sure. Bull, I do really believe, is probably the best diamond card in my team right now. 7'2" with a 7'7" wingspan is absurd size. I know he only has 65 strength, and he's not the greatest defender on paper, but he does shoot the ball at a high level with a really nice release. Has good playmaking badges, especially for a power forward. Can get defensive badges as well if you want to add them to him, like rim protector, post lockdown, pick dodger, ball stripper, things like that. And the jumper, Brook Lopez with Karl Malone upper. For whatever reason, I really like this version of Brook Lopez base. I really do think it's smooth and easy to green. Fundamental dribble style is really nice as well, and he is 7'2", plays really long and really big. Definitely a card I am a fan of. Calvin Nat has been out for a while, and I think he's just a bit outdated, which is why I'm putting him as low as I am. He is only 6'6" as well, very undersized, not an elite shooter, needs a bunch of badges. If you haven't badged him up, he's not worth badging up at this point. Only has finishing badges as well on Hoff, which is not great. I wish he had Hoff defensive badges, which would help him out. Jumper is fine. Base dribble style is not good. This card is just too outdated at this point for me personally, and needs too many badges for me to put him higher than D tier, but I do think he is probably right up there with Billy Cunningham as, I guess, the best in D tier. He's better than Tim Duncan. So James Worthy, I don't know. Is this card B tier? He's probably B tier. He's 6'9", so he's got acceptable size. He can shoot the ball a little bit. He's got decent speed, decent defender. No, not great badges, to be completely honest. Needs a lot of badges added as well. He's not the type of card I'd recommend adding badges to, but jumper is acceptable. Movement's not great. I want to move him to C tier. I don't think he's great. I think he's on the same level as Xavier McDaniel and Jerome Kersey. Blake Griffin, honestly, he's just really a little bit of a struggle on defense. That's the biggest issue with the card, because offensively he's fine. 6'10", which is good size. He's got acceptable speed, good shooting, elite dunking. Badges are solid as well, but really mediocre, especially on the perimeter defensively, which does hurt the card for sure. Definitely needs badges like Limitless, ball stripper, pick dodger as well added to it, but he has the slots for him. Jumper is fine, even on normal. I don't hate the Blake Griffin release. I was saying that with Billy Cunningham, and I do think he's a much better card with much better size than Billy Cunningham, but I still think he is toward that back half of B tier. Not a card I'm super high on at this point in the year. Kukoc, I think, is probably on the same level, especially at power forward, as guys like Kersey and Xavier McDaniel. He is 6'10", so he's got solid size, but he's not crazy fast, not an elite defender, not elite defensive badges. Needs a lot of badges added on that defensive end, especially like ankle braces, brick wall, menace, worm, deadeye, things like that as well. Not a ton of really good Hoff badges either. Jumper is fine, nothing crazy. I like Brook Lopez base. Like I said a few times this video, fundamental dribble style is also fine, but just not elite badges on this card, not elite stats either. He's not bad, but he's not great. I think C tier is a fair spot for a guy like that. Larry Johnson is yet another one of those guys who I just think is pretty darn mediocre. A little undersized. I think he's only like 6'7", so that does hurt. Not super fast, mediocre defensive stats, and mediocre dunk. Ew, this card is worse than I thought he was, to be completely honest. He needs a ton of badges. He's not worth badging out. Jumper is fine, but movement sucks. Yeah, this card sucks. I'm moving him down to the D tier. He just isn't worth badging out, and I don't think without the badges and stuff, especially with how mediocre his stats are, that he's a very good card at all. Maurice Lucas, I am going to put in B tier and toward the top of B tier because he is an absolutely exceptional defender. He's honestly very similar to Draymond Green, except better. A little bit taller at 6'9". Does only have a 70 shot three, but especially with the new coaches, that does get boosted a lot with a shoe as well. Can get, catch, limitless sniper, quick first step, bailout, glue hands, but he needs all 6 of those badges. He is an incredible defender though, especially on the badges. Defensive stats are really good as well. He's a good rebounder. He's got solid size. Jump shot is the exact same as Draymond as well. I think he's a better defensive Draymond, maybe not quite as good offensively, but does have shifty dribble style with the Pro 3 behind the back as well. So that's nice. That's something to note. And for that reason, I do think he's B tier because he's an exceptional defender with good SIGs for a power forward and the ability to get the key badges that he needs to improve him as an offensive player. Paul Pierce is really, really bad. I really do think this card is horrible. I know he's a 98 overall. I'm still going to put him in D tier. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I think this card sucks. Undersized. Statistically, he's okay, I guess. But he doesn't have very good defense, doesn't have very good playmaking either. Shooting badges are great, but his jumper is terrible on next gen, and he steps in from corners on current gen. Quick dribble style with the Kobe size up is nice, but this card is undersized. I don't like his jumper on next gen at all, and on current gen he steps in from the corners. He's a really mediocre defender, and he's undersized. There's just too many flaws with this card. I don't think he plays well. I think D tier is where he deserves to be. Now, Karl Malone, I think is the best power forward in my team, to be completely honest, so I'm going to put him in the S tier. Karl Malone is just a absolute god across the board. Like 6'9" with 7 foot wingspan, has good size, and he's also got a good player ability. He's 93 speed and excel, a great shooter. Statistically, just immaculate. Defensive badges are great. Same with finishing, even same with shooting. Quick first step as well. He also has the quick dribble style with the Kobe size up, so some of the best SIGs in the game. Karl Malone release on quick is absolutely phenomenal. This is one of the best cards in my team, period. I think he is absolutely incredible. 100% an S tier guy. There's just no doubt about it at all in my mind. Paul Silas is almost identical, I think, to Draymond Green. He's just got slightly better SIGs, but they're very, very similar cards. Another guy who only has 4 Hoffs and only 23 gold, so he's a little limited, needs a bunch of badges, and if he hasn't been badged yet at this point, I don't think it's worth badging him, but he is a really good defender, has Hoff Interceptor and Intimidator and Pogo Stick. Same jumper as Draymond, shifty dribble style, pipping behind the back, which is nice. He's kind of another worse Mo Lucas, similar to Draymond Green type of card. I think he's very, very similar to Draymond though. So for that reason, I am throwing him in the C tier. Pau Gasol on paper is not a bad card, but I think he's better at center and I don't like his release very much. So for that reason, I'm putting him in C tier. I know he's 7 foot tall and he has good speed and statistically he's solid. I don't like his jumper at all. That does really annoy me about this card. Set shot 16 is just not a jumper I'm a fan of. Fundamental dribble style is nice and he's got decent-ish speed, I guess. Badge wise is pretty solid all the way around. I think I'm probably being unfair. Put him in C tier. I'm going to put him in B tier, but he's not a card I personally am super high on. Yi, I do think, is still in the A tier. He's definitely a really solid option. Like, he's got great badges, 7 foot tall, only 83 speed, but half quick first step is nice. Great defensive and shooting badges. Jumper is solid. Defensive stats aren't crazy, but like I said, I like the jumper. Fundamental dribble style with half quick first step means you have solid movement. I think he's good. I don't think he's jump off the page amazing. In all honesty, I think his badges are better than his stats and animations play, but he is still an A tier guy. Definitely not a bad card whatsoever. I'm just letting y'all know right now, I'm going to have more than 5 S tier guys in this list. I think I'm probably going to wind up having something like 6 or maybe 7. We'll see. But definitely going to have at least 6. But I think Anthony Davis is good enough that he deserves to be one of those players. I know he's got good speed at 87 speed and excel. He's a good shooter, good dunker, good defender, has great defensive badges, half quick first step, catch and corner as well. One of the more complete power forwards in the game, besides needing like limitless, maybe Deadeye, maybe ball stripper, pick dodger, but really comes pretty complete already. I love his release, even on normal. I really find it super easy to green. He was my backup center in 250k, and I think he's elite at the power forward position as well. Movement isn't great, but he's got good size. He plays elite defense. He is just overall one of my favorite cards still in my team. I'm really looking forward to a Dark Matter AD with a sped up release because he's going to be a dog. But Tom Chambers is the next guy. I think C tier is fair. I don't like Tom Chambers' release at all. That's really the biggest issue with the card. He's got decent stats and speed, size at 6'10". Badges aren't terrible either. I wish he had better defensive badges, but the jumper sucks. It's that same set shot 16 that I'm not a fan of on Pau Gasol, and I don't think he statistically is quite as good as Pau Gasol, and his defensive badges really don't come close to a guy like Pau Gasol. So that does hurt him a decent little bit. I put Pau in B, so I think Tom Chambers is probably C, and I think that's a fair place to put him. Terry Cummings, I don't really know a ton about this card, but I remember he wasn't terrible. 6'9" isn't bad. He's not the best defender. Off box and brick wall, I guess, but nothing else defensively. Needs bailout, needs limitless, needs sniper, needs interceptor, pick dodger, ball stripper, clamps. That's too many badges. Ankle braces as well. Not super fast. Jump shot 36 is Not very good. Base dribble style. This card's not good. I'm sorry. I don't like him. I'm moving him to D tier. I don't think he looks very good at all. Sharif Abdul Rahim, on the other hand, I do think is a very, very solid card. Coming in at 6'9", he's got good speed, good defense, good dunking, really well-rounded card. Badge-wise is solid. Again, I wish he had more defensive badges, but post-lockdown and rebound chaser are two nice ones to have. Half quick first step as well is super nice. Does need limitless, but that's about the only shooting badge, and then like pick dodger ball stripper. So he comes pretty complete. Jump shot 81 on quick is super nice, really quick and really easy to green. Fundamental dribble style as well is great. So he's got a lot of things going for him. Pretty well-rounded card. I do think he deserves to be in the A tier. Boris Diaw, I think he's still got that base 40 that's a really mediocre release, but he's not bad, I guess. 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan, only one Hoff, which is post playmaker. His other Amethyst has, what, 2 Hoffs, which include Dimer as well, so nothing crazy. Decent defender, decent speed, decent shooter. This is a really mediocre card, though. He's just an Amethyst. You can't expect too much out of him. Jump shot 40 on normal isn't great as well. Slasher dribble style, he needs too many badges as an Amethyst. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can't get limitless as well. I'm sorry, Boris. You're an Amethyst. It's tough, but I got to put you in the D tier. Evan Mobley is another one of those A tier guys. There are a lot of freaking A tier guys on this list, and Evan Mobley is just another one of them. He's 7 foot, even with a little bit of a skinny player build at only 215 pounds. He's got good speed, shooting, defense, great defensive badges, great shooting badges as well. Does need like quick first step added on him, but I think he's got the big dribble style, so that does hurt a bit. Jump shot 84 even on normal is pretty quick and pretty easy to green. He's a really good card. I feel like he doesn't play quite as good defensively as his badges say he should at this point in the year, but he's really not bad at all. He's a good offensive card as well. I wish he had a better dribble style as well, but I do still think he deserves to be in the A tier as a really solid option. Jokic is statistically and badge-wise better than I feel like he plays. He is 6'11". He's got decent speed. Defense is mediocre, but offensively his stats are amazing. Shooting badges are also awesome. Playmaking badges are pretty good. Defensive badges are mediocre, though, to couple those mediocre defensive stats. And his set shot 18 release, it's not the worst set shot in the world, but it's definitely not elite either. I don't think Jokic is great. I think he probably is better at center, and I'm not super high on him at the center position either, but I do think he is good enough to, you know what? I don't like the card. I'm moving him to C tier. This is my list, my opinion. I think C tier is where he deserves to go, to be honest. I got to be harsh with some of these cards. So LaFonso Ellis is, I think he's actually pretty okay. I remember looking at this card for the small forward list, but I don't exactly know where I put him. He is 6'8", so that's a little small. Good speed, I guess. Good shooting, great dunking, decent defense. Badges are pretty mediocre. Needs limitless sniper added, but besides that, pick dodger rim. So he needs a few badges added to him for sure. Jump shot 40 on normal is really mediocre in base dribble style. Yeah, I think he's better than a guy like Boris Diaw, but he still has that not great release, so I do think C tier is probably a fair spot for him. And honestly, C tier is probably a fair spot for Sekou Doumbouya as well. I think he's a better Boris Diaw, another one of those guys who's a low tier card, but budget's like a solid budget card. He's got good speed, he's a solid all-around defender, can shoot, can dunk. Badges, he has a lot of good gold badges on him as well, which is super nice. Comes like pretty complete for all gold badges, which is nice. Does need like rim protector, rebound chaser, post lockdown, and he is a ruby, so it's not worth adding those badges to him. But his jumper is fine. Aaron Gordon release on normal even is relatively quick, and it's easy enough to green. Big dribble style sucks. I mean, he's not the worst card in the world. I do think he's better than Boris Diaw though, because I prefer his jump shot. And he is a pretty complete in terms of like stats and badges for a guy, especially for a ruby. He's solid, so I do think he does go end of C tier. LeBron is another A tier guy. I do look forward to Dark Matter LeBron because I think he'll be a lot better. It still annoys me that he steps in from corners on current gen. That really is a frustrating attribute for LeBron, but on next gen he is better. He's 6'9". He's got really good defense. Statistically, is super solid on the perimeter and decent on the interior, but his defensive badges don't really tell the whole story. LeBron always has great defensive animations. He does need badges like limitless spot up, rim protector, maybe a blinders, chef, rebound chaser as well. But he's a solid shooter, really good athleticism, absolutely incredible, obviously, with it being LeBron, super fast and a great dunker. His dribble style is the same as Slasher, so it's pretty darn mediocre. And the jumper is fine. He just steps in from corners on current, but I do look forward to a better LeBron that might have a different jumper or will definitely be a beast, honestly, on either gen. So this LeBron is fine. A tier is good, but I think that the other LeBron will be much better. Lamar Odom, I do think, is probably top of B tier, similar to Maurice Lucas. 6'10" is good, but 88 speed and excel. I mean, he's fine. She can shoot the ball, can dunk, decent defender. Defensive badges aren't great, but he has most of the key gold ones. Playmaking badges at the power forward position are honestly, I think, a tiny bit of a waste for, especially for a guy like this. And he does need limitless added to him as well. Jumper is fine though. He's got fundamental dribble style, which is the same as PG release. PG release left-handed as well. So it's the same release as Paul George, just left-handed, but smooth enough and easy enough to green. Not the fastest jumper, but not the slowest either. I think he's solid. I think he's one of the best jet cards in B tier, but I definitely don't think he's elite. So I think that this is probably where he does deserve to go. JT Thor, I think he is somewhere between like the C tier and D tier. He is 6'9", so not terrible size, got a good wingspan, decent enough defender, not a great rebounder, not great badges either, with basically all golds. As an Evo card, he can't get a ton of key badges as well, like Limitless, Sniper, Brick Wall, and as a Ruby, I wouldn't add him to him anyway, but jump shot is fine. Base dribble style, though, sucks. The missing badges hurt. The fact that he's not elite size or a rebounder either, those things really do hold that card back, and I kind of have to nitpick a little bit, so unfortunately, JT, you're going in the D tier. Dirk Nowitzki is the one card that I would say on this list that is easily an F tier card. Unfortunately, I love you, Dirk. You're my favorite player of all time, but he has 65 speed and 64 acceleration and a bad release. Do I need to say anything more about this card? Because you know what? I'm not even going to waste my time. Terrible defender as well. He's the worst card on this list easily. He's 100% F tier. Larry Bird is probably like back end of B tier, kind of like Blake Griffin. Statistically, he's better than he plays. I will say, I don't think he plays as good as his stats will say he does. He is a little bit slow, but he's a really nice shooter and defender. Good defensive badge as well, shooting badges as well. Needs badges like quick first step, chase down our brick wall, and rim protector added to him. Jumper is fine on normal, but I don't think it's like the greatest. I think it'll be better on quick, and he doesn't have great movement. He doesn't, I feel like, play defense quite as well as his stats and badges say he should either, but he's not a bad card. I think that he is probably a back end of B tier card, similar to Blake Griffin, who's also that same type of card. Shaq is one of the biggest exceptions for me personally that I have ever seen in 2K, because here's the thing about Shaq. He has a 55 shot three. That being said, with one of the elite coaches and a shoe on him, that can get boosted up to like into the low 70s with floor journal as well, which does make it makeable, especially if you add shooting badges to him, like a catch and shoot limitless, spot up, and sniper. His incredible defender, has elite size, plays huge, rebounds incredibly, super fast. Jumper is pretty darn not great, but he is such a dominant inside guy. Multiple people ran this card in 250K. Like, he is truly a beast, despite the fact that he's not a very good shooter whatsoever. And that just makes this card stand out as like one of the biggest exceptions to generally what we see in 2K period. But yeah, Shaq, I'm gonna put an A tier despite the fact he can't shoot. I think that's where he does deserve to go. Miles Bridges, I don't know a ton about this card, to be honest. I know he's a Moments of the Month card, but he is only 6'6". He's got good speed and excel, but he's a really mediocre defender. Does have decent, I guess, defensive badges, but they're all on gold. Another guy who's a decent shooter as well. Not really worth badging up, though. Jump shot is fine. Movement is not great. He is... You know what? Because he's a really mediocre defender and he's undersized, I'm going to stick with my trends, and I'm going to put him in the D tier as an undersized power forward without great defense. So for me personally, that's the type of card that is unfortunately D tier. Bam Adebayo, I think probably is... I don't know. I think Bam's jumper is solid. He is 6'9", so he has decent-ish size. Evo-wise, he can't get badges. It's another one of those all-star Evo cards. He has decent speed and excel. Really good defender. I'm gassing it, putting him in C tier. He's a B tier card. He's not the best card in B tier, but he's definitely not the worst either. He is a really, really solid card. Can rebound. I like his jumper as well. Movement isn't great, but he is not a bad card whatsoever, and I think B tier is a fair spot for Bam. Carmelo, probably also, Carmelo might be A tier. On next gen, I think he probably is A tier. On current gen, I'm not totally sure, but 6'8", so not the greatest of size. He's an incredible shooter and playmaker. Defensive badges are really mediocre. Needs brick wall, rim protector, ball stripper added to the card for sure. He's got great speed, shooting, dunking, and decent defensive stats as well, which is nice. Jumper is good on next gen. On current gen, I think it's good too. It's just that he steps in from corners, similar to LeBron. But I think he also is a great card, similar to LeBron. Not as good defensively, better shooter though. I think A tier is probably a fair spot for Carmelo because of his offensive prowess. You know, despite me not loving Sean Kemp's release, I'm going to put him in the A tier similar to the way that I did Karl Anthony Towns, because I do think he is still a good enough card to deserve it. 6'10" with great speed, decent defense, good shooting, and great slashing. Really well-rounded badges as well, which is super nice. Jump shot, not a fan of, but he has quick dribble style with the Kobe size up, which is absolutely incredible for a power forward. If he had a better jumper, he would easily be S tier because his jumper has a hitch, and I'm not a fan of it even on quick. I'm still going to put him A tier, but I'm not going to put him any lower than that. Thurl Bailey is one of the best cards on the power forward position, period. I think he's the best card, at least arguably, that I'm not going to put in the S tier. I am a huge fan of this Thurl Bailey card, though. He was on like the borderline of considering potentially playing in 250 for me at some point, but he is 6'11" with a 7-foot wingspan, hot spots from both corners, 15 hoffs, including great defensive hoffs and finishing hoffs, a nice jumper, good shooter, really good defender. I wish you could get badges like Limitless Spot Up, but overall, he does come pretty complete, especially for an Evo card that can't get badges. Really nice jumper as well. A little bit of a weird upper, but it's really easy to green. Even on normal, I am a big fan of 22, and he has the Kobe size up, which is nice despite not having great movement. I think he plays very, very similarly to Giannis in all honesty. I think you could even make the argument he's close to Opal Giannis, but for me personally, Thurl Bailey is probably the best card in A tier, but just not quite S tier for me personally. Wes Unseld, the problem with this card in all honesty is that he needs a ton of badges, and he's only a diamond, and he's only 6'7". He does have an afro, so he looks taller than 6'7", but he's a tiny bit slow, not the greatest shooter, needs a lot of shooting, playmaking, and defensive badges. Not going to be able to get all of those badges. Kobe release is great though, fundamental dribble style is good. It's just he needs a lot of badges like Limitless, Sniper, Quick First Step, Ankle Braces, Ball Stripper, Clamps, Interceptor, Menace, Pick Dodger. That's just too many badges, and he's not worth badging anyway. I'm sorry. Wes, because you have good size and you have a good release, I'm going to put you in C tier, but I don't think he's any better than C tier, in all honesty. Siakam, another A tier power forward, free card from Clutch Time last season. I'm sure a lot of y'all have him in your collection. He is 6'9" with a good wingspan, a solid jumper, and well-rounded badges and stats. Good defender, decent speed, good shooter. Jump shot 75, like I said with Obi Toppin earlier, even on normal is a solid enough jump shot. Slasher dribble style as well, so it's not the worst dribble style, but definitely not great. I think he's a better version of Obi Toppin personally, so I'm going to put him in the A tier instead of in the B tier. Bobby Portis, I don't really know enough about this card. I've really not looked at him at all. Because he's an amethyst, I'm going to assume he's in the D tier, but I'm going to give him a chance before I make that assumption for sure. 6'10", kind of slow, not a great defender, needs a lot of badges, and as an amethyst, you're not going to add badges to him, so that hurts him. Jump shot 75 on quick is a good jumper though. I do like that. Big dribble style sucks. He's just too slow, not a great defender, and needs too many badges, especially on the defensive end of the court, as well as bailout, glue hands. Yeah. I'm sorry, Bobby. You're not a bad card. You're probably even the best card in the B tier, but for me personally, I'm still going to put you in the B tier because you're an amethyst who doesn't have great stats or badges. Julius Randle is another card that came out this last week who is like pretty darn mediocre. I'll look at the better Julius Randle, I guess. He does have 9 hollows, which is nice, including interceptor, pogo, quick first step. He's kind of slow though, not a great defender. Defensive badges are okay, I guess, though they're pretty solid. Good dunker, jumper I don't mind at all. 47 on quick is nice, and fundamental dribble style is really good. Wish he was a little bit better of a defender, but he does have decent size, I guess, at 6'8", and a solid player build. Half quick first step is nice, shoots the ball at a high level. Only needs a couple badges like Limitless, Sniper, Pick Dodger, Ball Stripper, so he needs a few badges actually, but I think he's good enough to be in the D tier. Not a card I'm super high on, but I definitely do think he still probably is in that C tier. Rudy Gay is going to be the 6th S tier card on this list. I think he's absolutely incredible. And yeah, I mean, Rudy Gay's a god. He's a god at small forward. He's also a god at power forward. It doesn't really matter where you play him. He's got good size at 6'8", but also an elite player build, what makes him look a lot taller than 6'8". He's super fast, an incredible shooter, good defender, an incredible slasher, really well-rounded badges. Only needs a couple badges added to him as well, like Limitless Spot Up, maybe Menace or Ankle Breaker or something. I wish he could get Brick Wall. That's the one complaint. But Rudy release on quick is one of the best releases in the game, period, right now. Maybe the best release of any card on this list. Also has the quick dribble style and Pippen behind the back, so he's got much better movement than basically anybody on this list as well, especially with his speed and his off quick first step. He is an absolute goon. 100% an S tier power forward. And I think we have one more S tier power forward as well, and that would be Mr. David Robinson. He is an absolute dog. D-Rob is right up there with Karl Malone for best power forward option in the game. 7'1" with a 7'5" wingspan, which is incredible size. Also really fast, really good shooter, great dunker, great defender, really well-rounded badges, and incredible defensive badges. Can shoot at a high level, has a big man release. It's maybe the best big man release in the game. D-Rob release on quick is always amazing. Movement is not great, but he is so big, so elite defensively, such a good shooter. Overall, just such an incredible all-around card that he is 100% an S tier card, and right up there with Karl Malone for best power forward in the game for me personally. Hito is going to go A tier. Actually, I'm sorry, I put him in B tier. I meant to put him in A tier, and I think he actually can kind of go relatively high in A tier because he is tall at 6'10", which is nice, and does come with 13 hops as well, which is a lot for a pink diamond. 6'10" is great, really good speed and shooting, decent defense. Defensive badges don't jump off the page to you, but he can get brick wall, chase down artist, pogo stick, rebound chaser, and rim protector, and those are the 5 neat badges he needs. Elite shooter and playmaker, especially for a power forward, has the quick dribble style as well, which is absolutely phenomenal. I'm sorry, shifty dribble style. His release is much better now. They changed it to 111 from 11. It's really nice and quick and super easy to green as well. And he's got great size as well. One of the best offensive power forwards in my team. Defense holds him back a little bit, but he is still in the A tier. And then finally, we have one more A tier power forward, which is Kenyon Martin. Not quite good enough to be in the S tier, but he is another really good option in my team. 6'9", which is decent size. 19 hops is a ton of hops, including great defensive badges, quick first step, catch, corner, and a bunch of finishing badges, elite defensive stats as well as speed, good shooter, and an incredible dunker. Only needs a few badges added to him as well, like limit spot up, ball stripper, and that's about it. And then jumper is 75 on quick, which, like I had mentioned earlier, big fan of this jumper. I think it's super solid, and the fundamental dribble style as well is great. He's right up there for one of the best A tier cards in the game at that power forward position. Definitely a great option, but not quite S tier for me personally. So that is going to do it for this video. Let me know what you thought of my list down in the comment section down below. Who did I rank too high? Who did I rank too low? Just let me know what you think. And also, if you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.